I've basically gone to Rococo and grabbed this interesting dance animation from their motion library. For this title sequence, I was really interested in just making something interesting and having something a little bit more, I guess, cinematic. And I thought these sort of like improv moves would make the animation a little better. Rococo is also the sponsor to this video, which we will talk about later. Okay, so I basically brought that dance animation into Blender and then applied that to a Mixamo model that actually had my human gen already attached to it. So that's what this guy is. And then from there, I retargeted it using the free Rococo add-on. So relatively simple. I'm pretty happy with this animation, how it turned out. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm actually going to export it again so that I can just have a little bit more control and not worry about Blender trying to calculate all of the motion all at the same time. So with that, I'm going to basically file, export, CC file, and that'll work. Then in a brand new Blender file, hopefully we can bring that animation in and it'll be a lot more seamless for our project. Yeah, we got the frames and everything right here. Don't want particles, and then that's going to take a minute to export, but it should be perfect. There we go. And we're not slow at all, and we're still working pretty decently. Okay, go ahead and save your project. So now it's time for our main effect that I want to do here. So we're going to pull up geometry nodes just on our cube here for an object. We aren't really going to need it at all. Actually, in good old fashion, I'm going to add a procedural cube. I'm going to add a distribute points on faces node. Then I'm going to have an instance on points so that we can actually put some sort of planes around here. And then taking the rotation from the distribute points on faces, I'm going to plug that into the rotation of the instance on points. And then from here, I'm just going to scale it up so that we kind of have like a little box. Sizing down our planes just so we can kind of have fun and see through them, upping the density a bit. And then now I want to create an effect where they are going in and out, kind of to make it a little bit more layered. And the way we'll do that is just add a noise into it. But with the noise, we need 4D and then a vector multiply using the normal from the distribute points node again. Then we'll add a scale so that we can kind of scale the effect here, adding a color ramp for just a little bit more control. And then for a little bit more interest, I'm just going to throw in a random value to randomize the size of each grid. Just change the grid to like 0.2 or something. Give it, again, a little bit more variation. Okay, and that is our effect. You can kind of play with the density here and add more or less to see what kind of effect you like. You can also duplicate it maybe to get even more layers. It could be fun. I'm gonna keep mine low for now just so we can still see through it and everything. Then from here you'll want to add like a set material node, and with that material all you want to do just change it to a glass, and that is our effect right there. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, pretty nice. From here, I'm just going to go in and kind of pick some areas that make sense as far as like art direction and just really keep going with it from that point of view. I really like how the foot is kind of stepping right here as the music's coming down. So I'm gonna run with that. Looks like okay. So we've got camera 1, and now I'm just going to make sure I have both camera and the focus selected with the camera as the primary, and then I'm just gonna hit Shift D and then add in another marker, and then that works out great. So I think immediately I want to kind of showcase the effect that we made. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom out of here and just keep it right there with our camera focusing on the actual character for now. I think I'm gonna make sure that it goes into the dance move just a little bit more. Nice. Okay, we'll keep it right there. Okay, yeah, we'll just keep it at 2 seconds each. So I'm going by 60s just to keep the rhythm, and we'll see if we end up changing that or not. So again, with the camera selected and our empty, we're going to Shift D and then bind to camera again. And now we're just gonna find another spot that makes sense here. I think I'm gonna come back to the feed again here. Turn off this camera shake at least a little bit. I really like that shifting of the weight. Really makes it feel like real and organic. Okay, so we saw the foot, zoomed out, saw the foot again. So maybe we'll zoom out one more time and then kind of be done with our scene establishment and go from there. Now, what might be nice is to add just a little bit of roughness into this glass so we can just see it lightly better. Although, let's check that really quick. Kind of like that. That's definitely a good spot. Keep going. So from here, sometimes it makes sense to add another little scene or like a B-roll plot, if you will. So all we're gonna do is basically Shift D the environment and bring it on the side here. And then just like before, we'll take our camera with the camera selected, Shift D as well, and then we are ready to start our new scene. Now, we don't want to change the environment too much from what we've already established, but it could be nice and interesting to have a different character or just change up the colors, the lighting, things like that. And then just, even though I might not want to change things, I'm still going to duplicate the geometry nodes and materials so that any changes I might make aren't going to come back to the first part of our scene here. And that's coming from experience. I do that all the time. I think I actually kind of like this blurred effect, especially when the interior object is like super crisp and clear. So we'll go with that for now. Maybe watch it through one more time, see what kind of vibe we have so far. Okay, so with him spinning like that, it'd probably be a really good face moment, I would wager. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, maybe like really close up too. Let's see how that goes. I think this would also be a good time to bring in that camera shake again. Yeah, I think that works pretty well. All right, just a little bit of blocking for the camera to make it look more dynamic. Let's also see if we can throw in some more light ray bounces to get rid of these black planes back here. Trying to get rid of these black planes has made me realize that we have another cool effect opportunity, so that could be fun. So we'll duplicate the camera again, go bind to camera, and then we'll go ahead and animate those textures, or that geonode effect. I kind of like the idea of it just like going really nuts and like just like moving so fast that it's like messing with the motion blur even. That could be really fascinating. So you're right about here on the W, and we'll jump up another 60 seconds for this shot. Probably take out the camera shake for this little spot here. And then let's see. W is pretty sensitive, so let's go ahead and just change it up to 1. Keyframe. Make sure that is linear interpolation. Otherwise, it's gonna not do what we want it to do. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and give it a render and see what it does to the motion blur. Still rendering super fast because our scene is really light and everything. Let's see what this looks like without texture. I want the camera to move at least a little bit. We'll also set that to linear. Try render one more time. I think my intuition's telling me it needs to be a little bit brighter. Yeah, I think that's nice. I think it also matches well with the music that we're hearing too. Honestly, at this point, it could make sense to add another plot, another sort of moment. Yeah, again, messing around with the scene, seeing what makes sense, and just kind of going from there. So yeah, let's try that. Easy way to do that is just to highlight everything again, and then just Shift D. Again, if you were aware about the Alt D trick, where it's making an instance instead, keep in mind that you can't animate Alt D objects. So what you can Alt D if it saves your computer space, but it won't. Anything that you alter will have basically gone with the animated factor. So like all the cameras and everything, like they'll just go on top of each other if it's been duplicated with the Alt function. Try and mess with our third scene here. For this one, I'm feeling like a little bit more of everything. So we're gonna go ahead and duplicate the geometry nodes again, and then duplicate the material again. Although I don't know if I did that the first time. Yes, I did. Okay, so now our materials are material 3, and then all I want to do with this is really duplicate them and rotate on the Z. So it kind of looks like they are dancing in sync. Maybe we'll even do 4 just to be a little extra. And then with that, we need to come up with a different material so that it actually feels like a different scene. Again, another great reason to have BlenderKit so that you can kind of make these decisions on the fly. Kind of the material I was messing with earlier, so I'll probably just go with that. If you select all of your objects and then select the material that you want, you can go ahead and just hit link materials and it'll change everybody together. It's just a little bit more convenient. Although I kind of like bare white too. Maybe we'll give that a shot here. Then, like I said, I was thinking about cranking up the density super high here and then maybe bringing down the scale. That kind of creates a more glitchy effect. And if we increase the random variation, it'll increase the glitchiness of it. Let's see if we can make this kind of work here. Yeah, I think that'll work. Maybe we'll choose one person to focus on so that we kind of have something to anchor ourselves to. And since this is a build-up moment, maybe we'll leave the camera on just a hair longer. Take out the camera shake, and let's see how that goes. So we're gonna go 4 seconds instead of 420. Okay, actually I just put that into the focal length, and not that bad. Incredibly unrealistic, but not bad. Maybe we'll go like 250 instead. Okay, let's go ahead and watch it through. You have music in your scene and it's playing, it'll actually finish, or it won't stretch to fill the time. So like if your frame rate is down, your music will just play off beat. So you have to actually go in and select timeline, playback, and then hit frame dropping. And then that's how your music will stay on cue. So it looks like even though 420 is where this stops, it might make more sense to actually pull it out just a bit longer to 450, because that's kind of where it drops, actually. And then that way our next scene can kind of coincide with that drop. With our camera selected, once again, we just hit bind camera to marker and we'll find a good spot. So our first one, once again, was zoomed in. So this time we're just gonna zoom out. Nice and artsy. I think a little bit of movement here might make sense as well. I'm just gonna go in as soon as it hits here. Let's see what that movement could look like. And since we skipped a second the last time, let's actually get back on track with this one. And that'll be good for the drop too. Let's go ahead and render that really quick. Not really seeing a ton of motion blur there. Oh, maybe we're on the wrong frame. Okay. I think I am going to cut this back down to 2 just because it is glitchy. And I just want to make sure that I have the right one. Yeah, I think I had the wrong one there. So we're going to cut this back down to 2. Yeah, I think that makes a little bit more sense. Also, what I noticed is because this is technically looking at it from the side here, it's activating just a bit more of that motion blur. So that's kind of nice. Let's see it one more time. Okay. Actually kind of reminds me of the ray portal effect that we worked on a couple weeks ago, where it sort of transposes the point of another plane. So like basically kind of creates like a portal effect. And this is kind of doing the same. That might also be interesting to see. Obviously this is a little bit cooler because at least for all these different mirrors, it makes a little bit more sense for this scene, but you could definitely do it with that one too, for sure. Okay, so we've got our one spot here. Let's listen to the music one more time to see the vibe of the shot. It's always good to work with your song, especially when you're doing something like this in Blender. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of editing, and it really brings it back into the animation. I found it to be really, really nice to do it this way. So again, with our camera selected, we're gonna go bind camera to marker. Something that I like to do here, especially when the camera is already focused on your subject, is really just like pan around, like move your camera around and like see what works, see what doesn't. See if you can just like almost organically find any shots that really fit the mood that you're after. Sometimes it works pretty well. That's 500 millimeter lens. I don't even think that's possible, but who knows? We'll keep it there. I think that'll end it for us. That's the full tutorial. Again, we're working with geonodes to really amplify art direction and create what you would consider a relatively complex animation and make it super lightweight and easy to render way of thinking that comes with projects like these. A lot of times people don't realize that big, crazy projects can be really simple, and it's just all about how you frame it, really. So if you're interested in getting some Rococo gear, definitely use my link in the video description. In taking a deep dive into this file, I will also have that link down below. Consider subscribing and giving this video a like, and thank you so much for watching.